Next question comes from Steve Botari.
Inflation is certainly squeezing Granite State families, and people are looking for answers. We know you've all been critical of the Biden administration for this. Let's put that aside for a minute. Other than curtailing government spending, what is one policy you think GOP leadership should push to the floor to stop inflation? Mr. Moncharmani, to you first.
Drill, baby, drill. We need more energy. The more energy we produce, prices will fall. Energy prices bleed into everything. We know that here in New Hampshire. We have some of the highest energy prices in the nation. We have to get more energy, and that means all of the above. That means oil, that means gas, that means nuclear, that means solar, but not subsidized with taxpayer dollars. That means wind, but not offshore if it's falling apart, causing environmental damage, and also using taxpayer dollars. I'm a believer that an all of the above energy approach will actually lower prices. Those prices will bleed through into all goods and services. Look, I have a commercial driver's license. I've spent time driving tractor trailers. I understand the cost of diesel affects transportation of everything. As a result, if we get energy growth, all of the above energy, we will in fact lower prices. Of course, I want to stop the government spending. Of course, I want to stop the handouts. Of course, I want to stop the printing, etc. But given your question, Steve, I think I'm going to stick with energy policy as the way to lower prices.
Ms. Tang-Williams, beyond curtailing government spending, what could you do in Congress to stop inflation?
Well, the inflation is record high since I come to this country in 1988. And that's number one issue on the minds of second district people who tell me on fixed income, working families and paying bills, young people feel like they have no way to live in their American dream. It's very sad for me to say that. It is caused by lots of printing money by the federal government. That's caused by out of control deficit spending. And the government is getting basically just very out of control in terms of financial responsibility. For example, we're supposed to have a budget bill now, like the Congress' number one job to produce budget bills and control their purse. But they have not done so. We're going to talk about potential another continued resolution. So if we have to really pay down our national debt, $35 trillion, and bring down inflation, we have to stop printing money and borrowing money we don't have and pay for things we cannot afford. And that's where I will stick to the number one job of the Congress.
Beyond curtailing government spending, Mr. Hamlin, what would you push for in Congress to get inflation under control?
You know, Joe Biden declared war on American energy. Energy goes into everything we do. It goes into our cars, goes into our homes, goes into our food. And the number one thing we can do is free up American energy. Under Joe Biden, first of all, he canceled the Keystone Pipeline. He put a moratorium on new natural gas export facilities in the Gulf Coast, and he's also gone very slow on new drilling permits. He's done almost 1/10 the number of permits that Donald Trump did. So I think, you know, we need to free up American energy. Now, there's three specific things we can do. Donald Trump recently talked about, you know, we have in Pennsylvania, it's about four and a half hours from here, one of the greatest shale gas discoveries of our century, of the last 25 years. And that gas can come here. President Trump has made it one of his priorities to get Pennsylvania gas to New England. We have the second highest electricity rates in the nation in New Hampshire, and President Trump has repeatedly mentioned this. It's a top priority issue for him. So I think it's an easy win, and it's something when I go to Washington, with my experience, 30 years in the energy industry, I can help him do that.